Shit. Maybe that always happens to me. Let's grab that one. Where'd it go?
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
What's up, you guys? It's Katie and welcome back to my channel. For those that are new, hi, hey, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. For those who have been here, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I figured that since we're now in the second half of the year, this is a great time for me to share some good book recs with you guys to help you guys get out of a reading slump if y'all are in a slumpy dumpy, alright? Because no one likes being in those, and I want to try and help you guys get the motivation to reach your reading goals. Not that it matters at the end of the day, it does not matter whatsoever, but if you are like me and you want to reach your reading goal, then stay tuned because I got some good books for you, alright? I also will say there are different genres up in here as well, and some of them are books that I have mentioned on my channel before. Other ones I've actually never mentioned on my channel before, but they're goodies. All of the books that I'm going to mention, I vividly remember reading and sitting down and never getting up because of how good they were, so that's why I'm including them in today's video to help you guys out. So without further ado, let's get into the books, girl. Okay, and I was going to separate all of these based off of genre, but there's honestly a huge mix of different books in here, so I'm just gonna grab them from piles and start rambling and talking about them for you. First up, I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Miss Holly Jackson. This is actually a part of a trilogy for those who don't know. I've talked about this book already on my channel, but this I literally could not put down. I had to know what was going on. This is a YA mystery thriller for those who are unaware. This also is a Netflix series. I honestly don't think the Netflix series is that good. I think you should read the book, obviously, but this is about, what's the main character's name? It's about a high school student. Her name is Pip, and she decides to re-examine a cold case for her senior final project. And the cold case is about a boyfriend who murdered his girlfriend years ago, and the case went unsolved and was just kind of pushed underneath the rug. The reason why Pip wants to reinvestigate this case is because she believes that Sal is innocent, and yeah, I'm gonna leave you there, but it's really good. Again, it is a trilogy. I have yet to read the entire trilogy, but this one, popped a squat, did not get up. I was like zipping through this. And there was also a chase scene in this that literally, sorry, there's thunder. It's storming right now, so if you can hear the weather, I apologize, but there was a chase scene in this that literally I felt like I was getting chased, and bruh, you need to read this if you haven't already. Anyways, that's the first one. Okay, next up, I have Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is also a pretty popular series for those who are unaware. It's a found family trope about two childhood best friends who are both dealing with some form of addiction. Lo, who is our main male character, is an alcoholic, and Lily, our female main character, is a sex addict. So yeah, I gave this book 5 stars. Honestly, a majority of these books are clearly close to a 5-star or within 4 to 5 stars, so I would recommend them. That's why I'm including them. But this one, I literally gave 5 stars. There's no notes for this.
No notes.
No notes.
No notes.
No notes?
No notes.
No notes.
No notes.
No notes.
No notes. It's perfect.
This is definitely worth the hype, and I love it. There's found family. It takes place in a college setting, and you get to see a lot of character development throughout this entire novel. I'm a girl who doesn't like spice a majority of the time in her books. I don't mind a few smut scenes, but overall I just don't prefer to have it very spicy. That being said, obviously this is about a sex addict, but this one didn't bother me because it focuses more on the addiction side of things and the mindset of addiction versus just being smut. It's actually really good, and there's a lot of great takeaways from this book as well. I love this book. I love the series. There's actually 10 books in the series. It's the Addicted Calloway Sisters series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I am currently reading the 3rd book finally. I read the 1st and 2nd book a really long time ago, but I just haven't picked up the series because I know that I like it, so it's kind of a comfort read for me. But now I'm currently reading the 3rd book, so yeah. Anyways, there's the next one. Okay, next up I have, obviously, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, or Chbosky. I think it is Chbosky. I said in my all-time favorites video that I didn't think that it was Chbosky, but I've since realized that I'm pretty sure that it is. Regardless, for those who are unaware, this is my favorite book of all time. Obviously, I'm going to recommend it to you. I've read this millions and millions of times, and it never gets old to me. If you've never read this book, there's also a movie. The movie is really good as well, but definitely read the book. I love the book. I love the movie. They're both great, but I would recommend this. For those who are unaware what this book is about, it's about a high school freshman. His name is Charlie, and he is just entering high school, so he is adapting to a new environment and high school in general and all the stuff that comes with being in high school. He becomes friends with a group of seniors who introduce him to a whole bunch of things, including music, art, friendship, different dynamics of relationships, and different things that come about being in relationships. There are a lot of trigger warnings for this book, so look them up beforehand. Charlie himself is learning how to navigate his own mental health throughout this entire book, so just know that there are trigger warnings for this one, but it is definitely worth the read. I love this book so entirely much, and it touches on a lot of things that should be talked about, in my opinion. Technically, this is a banned book, and I don't know why. I think every single frickin' person on this planet should read this book. Clearly, it's my favorite one for a reason. I read this a really long time ago. This is technically a YA book. It's a YA literary fiction, also a modern classic in my opinion. But even though it is YA and I read this years ago, this still to this day remains as my favorite book of all time. And every single time that I reread it, it never gets old. So there you go. That's the next one. Okay, next up, I have Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've also mentioned this on a recent video as well, but this is an adult literary fiction. This also is really popular, and this also has a Hulu series, which I've never seen, but I've heard that it's pretty good as well. The book was really great. I read it in one sitting, clearly, as I did with all of these other books. I think that over time, I've learned to appreciate this book a lot more than when I originally read it. That being said, this is a story about Marianne and Connell, who are our main characters throughout this entire novel. Marianne comes from a wealthy family. She is a shy, introverted individual in high school who keeps to herself. She's also really smart. Connell, on the other hand, isn't necessarily as well off as Marianne. His mother is actually the maid of Marianne's family, which is how they even grow a relationship, or begin to grow a relationship, I should say. Because at school, he's the classic jock, popular guy, so anyways, this entire book is about them growing a relationship and becoming friends with benefits, or frenefits, or a situationship. I honestly feel like it's more frenefits because there's definitely a difference between the two. But yeah, this is about them in high school secretly doing their thing and then going on into college and navigating the real world while also continuously coming back to one another. The title is called Normal People for a reason, because I think that it's very relatable for a lot of people, but again, I've already mentioned this on my channel, so that's all that I'm going to say about it. It is really good. I ended up giving this 4 stars back when I read it, but I definitely do recommend this one. This is an adult literary fiction though, just so you guys know, okay? But yeah, definitely recommend this one. Moving on. Next up, I honestly considered even mentioning this book because this is a very controversial author. However, I'm gonna give credit where it's due, and I read this a really long time ago and I read it in one sitting, and it is a really good fucking book. So I'm talking Verity by Colleen Hoover, babe. If you have not read this book, you definitely should. This book is spooky as hell. If you've not read this, I loved this when I read it and I could not put it down. I read it in one sitting. I need to stop saying that because I've already mentioned that I've read all of these in one sitting, but oh no, this one's fucked up. This is an adult mystery thriller and this book is spooky as hell, okay? I remember getting so creeped out by this and like, girl, oh my god, I was spooked. For those who don't know what this book is about, it's about our female main character. Her name is Lowen, and she is a struggling writer who is under a lot of financial stress. She meets with Jeremy Crawford, who is the husband to Verity Crawford, and Verity is a best-selling author who ended up getting injured, so she is unable to finish her books, so her husband is hiring someone to come in to finish Verity's books for her while she's in recovery. So that's what Lowen, our female main character, is hired to do. And yeah, this book is spooky. Definitely recommend if you have not read it before. I know Colleen Hoover is a controversial author. I also have another book by her, but her books are really easy to binge read. I was never a fan of It Ends With Us. I just have to make that clear. I fucking hated that book before the first page even ended, okay? But yeah, I would recommend this if you have not read it before. I read this years ago. Need to clarify, but it was really good when I read it. years ago, and I did sit down and I read it in one sitting, and I would recommend it based off of what I remember from the book years ago. Okay? Just need to reiterate that. That's why it's included in the video, because I'm just going to go over every single book that I sat down and genuinely read through in one sitting in order to help you guys get out of a reading slump. And maybe you guys also shared the same when you read this book as well, or for those who haven't, maybe you will experience that if you pick it up, but there you go. That's the next one. Okay, next up I have The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. This is one of my favorite books of all time. The reason why I'm including it today is because it is literally only 110 pages, so you could easily read this in one sitting. I think this is a YA literary fiction, I suppose it would be. It's also a banned book. It's really good. For those who don't know, this is about a young Latina. Her name is Esperanza, and she is growing up in poverty in Chicago, and you pretty much watch her navigate life as a child growing up and observing things around her. There are trigger warnings for this, so please look that up before you dive into this book, but this book will definitely touch your heart, and it is very short, and I definitely think that every single person should read this book. Again, this is a banned book. I don't know why a majority of my favorite books of all time are banned books, but that's just how they are apparently. I don't think this should be a banned book. Again, I also haven't read it in a really long time, but what I remember from it, I think that it's essential that people read this because it highlights character development and resilience extremely well, and I love this so much. So I definitely recommend if you have not picked it up before. There you go. Okay, next up I have The Inmate by Miss Frida McFadden. For those who don't know, I am utterly obsessed with Frida. I've read a lot of her backlist now, and this book was my first book that I read by her. I popped a squat again and never got up because this book is so good, and it made me go down an entire rabbit hole of reading Frida McFadden books. I would definitely recommend if you have not read this one before. She's a very popular author right now, and she continuously, I feel like she releases new books literally at least like 3 books a year or like 4 books a year. She's popping them off. I don't know how she's doing that because she is a neurologist as well, so beats me, but good for her. Love her. Love this book. For those who haven't read this, this is about a nurse practitioner. Her name is Brooke, and she is starting a new job in a prison where she happens to know one of the inmates. His name is Shane, and Shane was Brooke's high school sweetheart. And the whole plot is you finding out why Shane is in prison. This book is twisted. It's crazy. I love this. Again, this made me go down a Frida McFadden rabbit hole, so definitely recommend. I love this book, and I gave this 5 stars. So there you go. That's the next one. Okay, next up, we're gonna travel back in time to, again, Tumblr days. I was a Tumblr queen. Live, laugh, love. All right. That being said, for those who have never read this book, you should pick it up. It is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This was hyped up on the internet. When was that? Like 2012, 2011? I don't even know when this book was written. Oh, there's a bookmark in here. Good to know. 2012. This book is genuinely the first book that I remember vividly crying and sobbing over while I was reading it. I loved this so much. I haven't read it in a really, really long time, clearly. 2012? How many years ago was that? Oh my god, that was 13 years ago, girl. What? Anyways, for those who have never read it or have never seen the movie, there is a movie. The movie's also really good. However, definitely read the book. I actually sobbed when I read the book. I did not cry during the movie, probably because I already knew what was gonna happen. My sister was bawling like a little baby at the movie. I don't think she read the book, so that's probably why, but this genuinely was the first book that made me sob and spiral. That being said, it's really good, and again, this was a very popular Tumblr book as well, so whatever. I read it in one sitting and I sobbed, and it's really good, so that's why it's in this video. For those who weren't alive during the Tumblr era, unfortunately for you, sorry, or just were never a part of the Tumblr revolution that happened and have never heard this book, this is about 2 characters. We have Hazel, who is our female main character, and our main male character, his name is Augustus. Both of them are terminally ill, and they meet at a cancer kid support group. You should read it. Is this a YA? This must be a YA book. It's gotta be. I think this is a YA book. Not entirely sure. It would technically be considered a literary fiction, I believe. So maybe it's a YA literary fiction novel. That being said, this is really good. Be prepared to cry if you've never read the book or seen the movie because it's just so good. And again, I read this in one sitting. And I still, to this day, even though that was 13, almost 14 years ago now, which is crazy, I vividly remember sitting down and reading this book for the first time. And I didn't get up once. like once. Honestly, I've had this book since like The Land Before Time, babe. I've had this book for so long that it's still a goodie. It's still a goodie. I've held on to it for a reason. I definitely recommend if you have never read it, and it was definitely worth the hype back then, and it should be rehyped up now for those who have never read it. So there you go. That's that one. Okay, next up I have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This I vividly remember sitting down right next to my fireplace in the middle of winter, and it was the perfect setting for this, chef's kiss, and I did not get up once. It was spooky as hell because I also was home alone, which creeped me out, but this is really good. This definitely got me. The reason why it was a perfect setting is because this does take place in the middle of a snowstorm. This is about a couple who wins a trip away to a church that is in the middle of nowhere trying to fix their marriage that is starting to fall apart. We have Amelia, who is the wife, and we have the husband, who is Adam, and Adam actually has facial blindness, which I've never read a book with that being part of the premise in this, so that was really interesting. This book is really good. If you've never read it, you should. The plot twist got me, and I felt stupid as hell. So there's that. You should read it. Next up, we have My Story by Marilyn Monroe. This is actually her autobiography, or what would have been her autobiography. Technically, it still is kind of her autobiography because nothing was changed from her original manuscript. However, this does cut off very abruptly. She was in the middle of writing her autobiography when she passed away, so this is literally the unfinished manuscript that was printed in her honor. This is also a very niche pick, obviously, but I love Marilyn Monroe, and I loved that this was from her own words and her own point of view about her upbringing. There's also amazing photos in here. I'll show you a few. I just love her. I just love her. Oh, I love this picture. There's really good pictures in here of the queen herself, and I love this. I love everything about this. I love Marilyn Monroe. She's a very controversial person, or she was, but I've always adored her. Even though she felt a little bit misunderstood and at times hard to handle, I always understood this woman. I always felt like I understood this woman. Love her. Obviously niche pick, but this is a very short book, and I did read it in one sitting. How many pages are there? Aww. The last sentence is, "This is where Marilyn's manuscript ended when she gave it to me." Milton H. Green. It is 185 pages, so it's really easy to read in one sitting. So yeah, I do recommend this one, and I really enjoyed reading her story. So there you go. Next up, I have Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. This is a really long book. Honestly, I'm surprised that this is in here too. It is literally nearly 500 pages, girl. So I don't know how. I think this is an indie book. I don't know if people talk about this or not. I read this for my birthday. I don't remember if it was last year or when it was, but every year I choose a birthday read that I'm highly anticipating to read, and this was one of them, so I did sit through my entire birthday and read this book, and I never got up from it. It could be because I had nothing to do that day other than to read my book, so that could be why. However, this is really good, and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving this, I think, a 4.5 star. The reason why it wasn't a 5 star is simply because I kind of lost the plot towards the end. Like within the last 70 pages, I kind of was like, wait, what is the point of this again? Like, but it was so good up until that point. I didn't even realize that I had no idea what the main story really was. Before I even explain this book to you, just know that there are trigger warnings for this. So if you want to go in blindly or just look up the trigger warnings for yourself, then do that. Otherwise, I'm going to say something that might be triggering for some of you guys. This is not a spoiler of what I'm going to say. However, proceed with caution because I'm going to mention a heavy topic, but it's on the back of the book. This is about two people, Charlotte and Kellen, who meet on a roof on Valentine's Day, and they both went up there with the intention of not coming down, if you pick up what I'm saying. That being said, it happened to be a mere coincidence that they were both on the same roof that given Valentine's Day, but they make a pact moving forward that every Valentine's Day they're going to meet on the roof to spend the day or night with each other in remembrance of how they met in the first place. And yeah, they both go to the same school, I'm pretty sure, but Kellen is the outcast of the entire grade, so they don't really talk in school. Even though they don't talk in school, they do still make the pact to meet every Valentine's Day in remembrance of them being alive. So yeah, anyways, this book is really good. Just know that there's trigger warnings. I can't say something because it's gonna be a spoiler, but there was one particular thing about this book that if you read this, you will probably know what bothered me about this. I can't because I can't spoil anything, but just know that it was weird and I don't condone that behavior. If you've seen my other videos and you decide to read this book, then you probably can put 2 and 2 together of what bothered me about this. But other than that, the way that this was written, I zipped through it so fast. Like, I don't even know. Wait, I think I read this 2 years ago. I don't think I read this last year. I think I read this in 2023. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I rated this a 4.5 star. It was really good, and I definitely recommend. So yeah, there you go. Okay, next up, y'all are probably sick of me talking about this, but I don't care. I read this in one sitting. This is one of my favorite books of all time as well. It's The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. It's a memoir of Jeanette Walls' life. I'm gonna touch briefly on it because I've mentioned it so many times on my channel already, but I think every single person should read this book. It is really freaking good, and it has a lot of great takeaways from it. Just know that there are trigger warnings in this book as well. Again, this is a memoir of the author's life. Her name is Jeanette Walls, and she grew up in extreme poverty in a very unstable family and an unstable childhood setting in general. There are a lot of trigger warnings in this book, so just know that before you go into it, but don't stray away from it because it is so good and there's a lot of great takeaways from this. It touches on resilience, it touches on family dynamics, and it also gives you a great insight on making the most of the cards that you're dealt from a young age and the life that you're born into. Definitely recommend. Y'all already know, but she ended up becoming a New York Times bestselling author and making it out of the situation that she was in and the situation that she was born into. So yeah, I'm not gonna say anything else, just know that this is really good and it's based on a true story, which makes it even better. And round of applause for Jeanette Walls, per usual. Love her writing. I want to read her entire backlist strictly because of this book. That being said, there's also a movie for this. The movie is also really good. The book is better, in my opinion. Clearly, love books, but yeah. Anyways, moving on. Next up, I have One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. This is a YA mystery thriller, and this is actually a trilogy as well, kind of similar to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. They were both popular around the same time. I ended up reading this before I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. However, they're both great. They both definitely deserve the hype. I read this in one sitting. For those who don't know, this is about a student who gets murdered in the middle of detention, and you're trying to find out who did it throughout the entire book. It is so good. This also had a chase scene. This also had me sweating, and I literally could not put this down. I ate this up so fast. It also reminded me a lot of The Breakfast Club in a way, probably just because it's about kids in detention, but yeah, anyways, I really liked this, and I definitely recommend. This does have a show on Peacock. I watched that show as well. The show was alright, like it wasn't that good. Read the book is better. I'm gonna probably say that for every single book aside from Perks Being a Wallflower because they're like 2 in 1, but this one, read the book over the show. That's it. That's all that I'm gonna say. So yeah, anyways, there's that one. Okay, another book that you guys are probably sick of me talking about because I've talked about it so many times on my channel already, but I did sit down and I read it in one sitting, and obviously I would recommend it. It is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I've talked about this so many times already, but for those who haven't seen my other videos or don't know what the series is about, it's about a PhD student slash professor slash possible doctor. I don't remember exactly what she is. I never remember, but regardless, she goes to the coast of Scandinavia where she is trying to write an encyclopedia about the fairy world and folklore, and she's trying to learn more about their culture and just more about fae in general. There's academic rivals in here. It's so good, you guys. Literally, the reason why it wasn't a 5-star, it was a 4.5 for me, only because it reminded me so much of the Chronicles of Narnia in a way that it felt a little bit unoriginal for that reason. Nonetheless, it's so good. It's so freaking good. I felt like I was tripping on shrooms. I literally felt like I was tripping on fairy dust while I was reading this book. And the words that Heather Fawcett decided to use was so intentful, and it made the entire book so magical. It really made me understand how intentful authors are with their word choice and just how much it can make the story so much better. So yeah, definitely recommend. That's all I'm gonna say about it, but clearly I would recommend. I don't know if I've already said this in this video or not, but this is a part of a trilogy series, and I am on the 3rd book. I have yet to read the 3rd book. The 3rd book actually came out at the beginning of this year, so so still have yet to read it, but it is on my TBR. I'm waiting for the paperback to come out. Y'all know this if you've seen my other videos. We're not gonna go on a tangent, but yeah, anyways, I just love the cover. I love the ruched edging. Everything about this is a vibe, and I definitely recommend. And I did sit down and I read this in one sitting, and I will never shut up about it. So there you go. That's the next one. Okay, next up, again, controversial author. We're gonna mention her one more time because this was a book that I read in one sitting, and I really enjoyed it at the time that I read it years ago, might I clarify. It is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This, I know that this book is a toxic book. I know that this book is a toxic book, but when I read it, I loved it. And it spoke to a current situation that I was in, and I related to it so much that I was like, oh my god, I love this. I also did shed a tear at the end of this book. I read this years ago. I'm just gonna clarify, but the point of this video is me talking about books that I did sit down and read in one sitting and that I enjoyed, and this is a book that I read in one sitting and that I enjoyed at the time when I read it. So I don't know if that would still stand to if I read it now, but back when I read it, I think in like 2020, or 2021, something like that. I did enjoy this. I do believe that this was my first birthday book when I started doing that for myself, so that could also be why I enjoyed this and I read it so quickly, because I was reading it for my birthday. But that being said, I'm still going to tell you guys the synopsis because I did enjoy it at the time, so whatever. This is a story about our female main character, Tate, and our main male character, Miles, who end up growing a situationship scenario, and it gets messy, as situationships typically do. I also do think that this is a brother's best friend trope, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I think that it is, which is cringy now, looking back, but I loved this book when I read it, so that's why we're including it today. Yeah, there you go. Just know that it's about a messy situationship that takes place, and they're also neighbors, so it might be a little toxic. If I read it now, I probably wouldn't rate it as highly as I did when I read it originally, but just know that I did like it back when I read it like 4 or 5 years ago, so there you go. Okay, next up, I don't have the physical copy. I have no idea where my physical copy went. I literally have a piece of paper as if I'm on fucking Survivor to remind me, otherwise I would have forgotten to even include this book, but it is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I actually had the physical copy, and my mother also had the physical copy because she also read it, not at the same time as me, we just both happen to have a copy of the book. I can't find either of them, so I don't know what happened there, but nonetheless, I'll put it on the screen for you guys. This is an adult mystery thriller about a young girl that goes missing, and her mother still is haunted by it, clearly, as most mothers probably would be. The mother is still trying to piece things together years later, and she ends up meeting this guy and notices that the guy's daughter looks exactly like her daughter back when her daughter went missing. So it kind of unravels a whole thing, and she's trying to figure out if that girl is her daughter and also what happened to her daughter all those years ago, because the case went unsolved. That being said, this book, you pretty much know what's going on the entire time that you're reading it, but it's still really captivating, and it's honestly one of my favorite mystery thrillers to this day. I remember vividly sitting down and reading it and not being able to get up. I read this book actually around the same time that I read The Glass Castle, and both of them are what literally spiraled my entire reading journey again and got me back into reading, so I definitely recommend. It's really freaking good, and I think it's a New York Times bestseller as well, so you guys already might be familiar with it. And for those who don't know, Lisa Jewell is the author of None of This Is True, which is a very popular book right now, and I'm actually going to read that pretty soon, spoiler, but I just got the audiobook on Libby, so I will be reading that. I heard that it's really good. It is the same author. Yeah, anyways, definitely recommend. It's really good. Moving on. Alright, next up we have a sci-fi. It's an adult science fiction, and hear me out. Hear me out. It is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motar and Max Gladstone. For those who have read this book, you might be like, girl, what? And I know. When I first read this, actually, if you watched my tier ranking video from 2024, you know that I had a difficult time of where I should put this and what tier it should go in, because after I finished reading it, I thought about it so much, and even to the reason why I'm including it in the video today is because even though when I was originally reading it, I had no idea what was happening, like 99% of the time, as a majority of people have said as well. I had no idea what was going on. However, to this day, I think of this book so much. I don't know what it is, but I think about this book so much that I have to include it because I did sit down and I read this in one sitting, even though at the time I was debating if I should even recommend it to people. Now, I would say that people should read this. Just know that you're gonna be confused for the first half. Towards the end, you start to understand the plot a little bit, but it's still a very metaphorical book and it's up for your interpretation of what is happening. What I can tell you guys in the most basic way is that it's about time travel and it's about two characters from two different dimensions talking to each other through letters. You're gonna be confused. If you decide to read this, you're gonna be confused. Just know that. I had no idea what the hell was happening and I internalized a lot of stuff, and honestly, this book made me cry when I was reading it because I was trying to psychoanalyze it so much that I started psychoanalyzing myself. I made a joke in my tier ranking video that I was too interstellar with this book, and y'all, that's a movie for those who haven't seen that movie. I definitely was. It brought up so much stuff that I don't even know how, but it did. I'm gonna sound wacko for like 0.2 seconds, but there's 2 cardinals who live in my backyard. There's also 3 blue jays who live in my backyard, okay? Whenever I see the cardinals, I never see the blue jays, and whenever I see the blue jays, I never see the cardinals. I'm telling you guys, I'm gonna sound whack. I'm gonna sound crazy. I tried to explain it to my mom, and she just looked at me like, girl, wait. But I don't know, you guys, okay? Look. You have red and you have blue. Those are the characters that are talking to each other throughout the book. A cardinal and a blue jay. You guys, I'm not making this shit up. I think about this book all the time, so that's why I'm including it. So, yeah. I originally rated this 2 stars, and now looking back, I kind of want to give it a 3 to 4 star because of how often I think about it. It's kind of the same as The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I didn't really like that when I was originally reading it, but I think about that book as well all the time, that it definitely has gotten higher on my ranks now that time has passed when I've read it. So you just gotta let this marinate, and then you might enjoy it. But yeah. There's the next one. Okay, the next book. Every time I talk about this book, it makes me want to cry. I've mentioned this before on my channel, but it is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, and before we say anything, I'm actually going to explain this for all of you because I did not do a good job at explaining it in my all-time favorite reads video. But for those who don't know, this is a book about our main characters, Macy, who is our female main character, and Elliot, who is our main male character. Why does this book make me want to cry right off the rip? Okay, if you're anything like me, this book is gonna make you sob. It's about Macy and Elliot, who are childhood friends to lovers. That's the trope that you're getting in here. Macy's family ends up purchasing a cottage right next to Elliot's house, and their neighbors, whenever she's up there for the summer. It's literally such a great book, captivating what it's like to have a first love. And it's really fucking good. I've said this in my all-time favorites video, but this is literally notebook worthy. For those who have never read The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks or have seen the movie, that is my favorite movie of all time. I've also read the book, but the movie is fantastic. This is very much notebook worthy. It is so good. The ending, the character development, chef's kiss, 5-star. It's gonna make you sob if you're anything like me, but it's so beautiful. It does such a great job at capturing love and the reality of love, and honestly, this just like hit really close to home. So that's probably why it made me cry. I will say, all of these books are books that I've sat down and read in one sitting. This one, I did start at 10 p.m., which was stupid. Don't do that if you're gonna read this book. Start it at a normal time, because I stayed up until 3 a.m. reading it until I fell asleep, and then I immediately picked it back up and started reading it throughout the rest of the day. Like I literally did not leave my bed, and I read it through the next day. So I'm still counting it that I read it in one sitting, because if I had not fallen asleep and I could have stayed up to finish it, then I would have, but it's so good. And if I didn't start it at 10 p.m., I would have read this for an entire day straight. So yeah, again, this is one of my favorite books of all time. Of course, I'm going to recommend it to you guys, but hopefully that's a little bit better of a synopsis that I gave you guys versus what I tried to give you in my favorites video, because I could not get words out because I was already crying and spiraling. But yeah, just be prepared for potentially crying. if it's gonna hit home for you like it did for me. Anyways, I love this book so much, and that is the last book that I have for you guys, so there you go. Okay, you guys, I wasn't gonna try and lift these books up for you because I always end up like having these all tumble, but these are all of the books that I just went over with you guys. There's a lot here. Hopefully you guys got some good book recs from this. If you did, be sure to give this video a like and be sure to subscribe. Also comment some of your favorite books that you've read in one sitting down below. Oh. Okay. I know that I've talked about some of these already on my channel, but I feel like a majority of these are just very random, but that's just the reality of reading. There's some books that you're just gonna zip through and other books that you're not necessarily gonna wanna. And I feel like this is the most realistic take on how much reading just depends on the reader because it's so random, and there's honestly, I feel like there's a good variety of genres in there for you to be able to pick out books that might interest you. That being said, all of these I would recommend. All of these I sat down and read in one sitting, and I absolutely adored them. I've also read books in one sitting that I have not liked, and I did not include them in today's video because these are all books that I would recommend to you guys. So yeah, I also want you guys to know that if you are in a reading slump, just know that it is so normal and it is going to be okay. You're eventually going to get back into reading. Hopefully some of these recommendations will help you get there, but if not, just be patient, my friend, because we all go through that, and just know that it shall pass, okay? I hope that you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Au revoir. Mwah. Bye. There's gotta be a good one in there. Whatever. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it.